top 5 surprise quarterbacks. I'm going to go through and pull these from different positions at different times during the year, but there's a couple guys in this list that I might owe apologies to, at least at this point in the season. But we'll start out number 5, TJ Finley from Texas State, who we got to see first game of the season. He played very well against Baylor. And look, this is an SEC quarterback who was at 2 SEC schools and then found his way to Texas State. He's played really well. He's a nice fit for G.J. Kinney in that offense. But TJ Finley, a bit of a surprise, especially given the exit at Auburn. And I still want – I know it's a personality conflict or whatever he had or whatever happened with Hugh Freeze. I would think that TJ Finley's better than who they have on the roster right now, but they made up their mind, and he's played pretty well here at Texas State.
Yeah, I think what is kind of like the uncertainty of just the juggling of that job and whether he was going to, play or not. I think, and obviously it's Texas State. He knows that he's the guy, even though there's a little bit of a question about that originally. But, yeah, I mean, he's played well. They've lost a couple of games. So the talk about when they beat Baylor in the opener of like, oh, GJ's just going to come in and roll through everybody and, Texas State's going to, be on, on the road to glory right out of the gates. No, they've hit a couple of stumbling blocks, but no, they've played well. He's done a good job for them and has held on to that job. And they're going to be fun to continue watching so long as GJ sticks around there and continues to build that program.
Number 4,
and he's going to to be there. He's just a sophomore, so he's got more time.
Yeah, number 4, Graham Mertz at Florida. He was the definition of kind of just there at Wisconsin. He had a couple of good games. And look, it's still early, but the Gators are 5-2. He just had an excellent game against South Carolina. And Billy Napier has found a something here in Graham Mertz, and good for Graham. Way to go. I thought it was a little bit surprising that they just let him roll out there and wear number 15. I mean, they got a statue of the real guy out there outside wearing that number. But, hey, more power to them. And they've played well, much better, I think, than a lot of people thought early on in the season. And the talk about Billy Napier being on the hot seat in year 2, I think, it was kind of bogus anyway. But I think he's proved it with the way the Gators have improved. They're still not world beaters or anything, and they got to play Georgia here soon. So that probably brings everybody back down to earth. But Graham Mertz has played well for the Gators so far this season. Not turned the ball over a lot at all. Yeah, no, he's been much better than expected. I think for those that figured like the play would be whatever the worst of his play was at Wisconsin, and that's just would be what translated. No, it's been some good stuff. Like you said, he's protected the football. Probably getting sacked a little bit too much, but that's not necessarily on him per se. But I think he's done as good of a job as you could have expected going into this thing, and he was never going to be the guy that was going to lead you himself to the promised land. So he's done well enough for them to be sitting pretty with just a couple of losses and very much in the mix. Yeah, almost 1,900 yards passing, 12 touchdowns, 2 picks, has been sacked, though 19 times, like you said, Craig. Number 3. Jack Plummer at Louisville, and Louisville off to the fantastic start. And sometimes when guys are 3-time transfers, you're like, all right, well, I kind of felt, and this might be more the case than it is, but I kind of felt with Jeff Brom, he was like, okay, I need somebody who can run my offense and we'll get through on the other side and figure the quarterback's going to be next. But Plummer's played really, really well for them, and is a large part of why they've had that great start. The loss in the game against Pitt notwithstanding, but yeah, so far, Jack Plummer's been just the right answer for the 6-1 Cardinals, who are already bowl eligible after kind of all the strife they've had the last couple of years.
Yeah, I'll slightly disagree here a little bit. I think they've won in spite of him at times. I think that he turns the ball over a bit too much and has I
probably should have had him lower on the list.
Yeah.
I probably have Graham Mertz above
But they're
him,
off to a good start, and he's not, keeping them from winning games necessarily. But it's been, especially with what's going on with Cincinnati, them looking over the other way at what's going on at Louisville is a tough pill to swallow, and that's kind of a double whammy for them. But, yeah, he's been okay. Obviously got the last name that a lot of people will recognize. Needs to protect the football. But they've been able to overcome that, so it's worked out well up to this point.
He has a touchdown to interception ratio based on what was Craig saying with 13 to 8 picks, 15 sacks.
Yeah, and he has thrown for a lot of yards. That's true. But, yeah, I probably should have put him lower on the list. Number 2, Jacob Zeno at UAB.
I know who's won.
Jacob Zeno's, Trent Dilfer's found, ways to contain that live arm. I know that, Baylor fans remember him and thought that he was going to be the next guy and then just could not break through. And Blake Shapen was the choice. I think if you flip the situation, I think it would be the same. I think Jacob Zeno would be kind of doing maybe what Blake Shapen's doing here, developed at quarterback a little bit, but not able to, withstand the ridiculous rush that's coming at him. And Blake Shapen would be pretty good at UAB. But I do think it bears note that Jacob Zeno has come into his own at UAB, and Trent Dilfer's found something there in him. Maybe he's just afraid of getting yelled at because Trent Dilfer's a yeller.
I was going to say, man, I don't like his coaching style.
Yeah.
I really am put off by some of what I've seen from Trent Dilfer. But, whatever I guess works for them, although it's not working record-wise for them really at the moment. But, Jacob Zeno's been good. I think that he got a really rude awakening against UTSA.
Yeah.
But, he's got some skills. There's no denying that. I just think with the whole situation for Baylor, if you look at, look at what Jacob Zeno's doing, it wouldn't be any different here.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be any same lines blocking, same receivers are trying to catch the ball. So I think, it would have washed out about the same. Same thing. I think the only argument you could really have made is like Gary Bohannon last year. Like, could they have been better with him at the helm? I think you can make that argument.
That's a fair argument, yep.
They can make that argument, but even looking at Kyron Drones and saying, well, would he be doing better? No, he wouldn't be doing better in this offense the way it is currently constructed. So I'm glad that Drones is getting a great opportunity out there in Blacksburg and doing well with it, and Jacob seems to be doing pretty well. Still got some learning to do, but, getting some good playing time, some good run there with the Blazers, so good for him.
Yep. And number 1, Brady Cook at Mizzou. I think we had, Graham Bronstein, our intern this summer, is a Mizzou student at the J School and going to be really good in this business one day when he gets his shot. But you ask him about who the quarterback was going to be and Mizzou fans were all like, I don't know, this is such a mess. And, but Brady Cook's been really, really good. Really,
I was so impressed with him in that game. Was it
really
against Kansas State? Tough kid, made some big throws, made some big moments look easy. Yeah, and he's been a little bit banged up at times, but good pick there.
Yeah, no, he's been good. Missouri just keeps winning. Other than the LSU game. They're unbeaten, and so, he's played well. They've obviously got some studs at wide receiver, one stud in particular that helps make a lot of things much easier for your quarterback. But, no, they've been a good story, and just find it interesting that it's kind of been, very hit or miss for Missouri the last few years. They jumped right into the SEC pool and won the division right out of the gates, and then kind of got quiet here recently, but they're making some noise once again. And I'm fascinated to see how long they can keep this going. And obviously Georgia's the big bad bully in that division that you'd have to get by. But Missouri's got a good thing going right now.
All right, Paul, very nice. Where would you